Welcome to Here's to Your Health with Joshua Lane. Here's to Your Health discusses the current thinking in wellness, bringing you the most influential thinkers in beauty, fitness, and longevity. Your host, Joshua Lane, was part of the Dr. Ann Wigmore team that helped bring wheatgrass sprouts and raw foods to a worldwide audience. And now the host of Here's to Your Health, Joshua Lane.
Welcome to this edition of Here's to Your Health. I'm your host, Josh Lane. My guest is JOLIE ROOT. JOLIE ROOT is the senior nutritionist for CARLSON. CARLSON known for their fish oils. CARLSON Vitamins established in 1965 by Susan CARLSON, a registered pharmacist. One of my favorite companies and one of the most important nutritional supplement houses in the field today. JOLIE ROOT, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Josh. It's good to be here with you.
Very nice to have you on.
We're talking about the holidays.
Yes, the holidays, that's right. That's right. And how does EPA DHA play into our health during the holiday season?
Well, I think the main thing that I wanted to get to, we've talked a lot about EPA and DHA supporting better mood, and people do have issues with depression this time of year. But I really wanted to talk about balancing blood sugar levels because we eat more sugar, we eat more desserts and sweets and pastries. It's an indulgent time of year, and people are going to parties and there's a lot of socializing, and so we might be drinking more alcohol this time of year too. And the thing that those things have in common is this blood sugar roller coaster that happens when people consume a lot of simple carbohydrates. Mm-hmm. And so the relationship is important, because if you think that blood sugar stability is just about whether or not, you're inching toward diabetes, that's not true. When people have that roller coaster going on with blood sugar levels, a thing that happens during the lows is stress hormone levels increase, and the chemistry of depression increases, and tempers get shorter. So when blood sugar is unstable, we are unstable. So it's not just about carbohydrates. The fats that we eat change the way that our cells respond to insulin. Insulin is the hormone that is released after we eat. It directs muscle and fat cells to take up glucose, and it tells the liver to store rather than produce sugar. The fats that we eat influence inflammation, and inflammation plays a role in blood sugar balance. And the fats that we eat even affect our long-term blood sugar marker, A1C. So among the fats that we consume, the marine omega-3s, the EPA, and the DHA that we talk about quite frequently here on your program stand out because they weave into cell membranes and they cool chronic inflammation, and they modulate signaling steps that help insulin do its job. And the result of that is better support for healthy glucose metabolism and cardiometabolic health.
Wow.
I'm sure that you have a lot of people that deal with insulin resistance, which is where our cells don't respond to insulin that well. So the pancreas makes more insulin, and over time, that can raise our fasting glucose levels and our triglyceride levels and A1C. Mm-hmm. And so A1C is a lab marker that reflects the percentage of hemoglobin that has sugar attached. It really tells you your average blood sugar level over a roughly 3-month period. And having lower A1C usually means you have better long-term glucose control. So the fats influence every step: the insulin production, the insulin receptor function, whether or not we're insulin resistant, and also our A1C levels. Because when the fats wind themselves into the cell membranes, it increases the fluidity of the membranes. And the omega-3s increase the fluidity of insulin receptors membrane environment, and also insulin receptor signaling, and inflammation that interferes with insulin's action. And so you can see that getting better levels of these very healthy fats can influence blood sugar control from a number of different metabolic standpoints, mechanisms.
Right, right. Our guest is Jolie Root. Jolie Root, the senior nutritionist for CARLSON, CARLSON known for fish oils. So Jolie, it just seems that, fat is very important for us really always. And during the holiday season, if we're going to indulge ourselves in things we usually think, no, we're not going to use that. We know it's not a great choice, but now we see it as party food. We're going to let ourselves go with that. So how do we use the fish oil to kind of, maybe do slightly better or much better?
Well, I think you want to make a promise to yourself that particularly at this time of year, you are taking your fish oils on a daily basis. And we talk all the time about what's the best way to do that. And it doesn't matter whether you take a liquid fish oil, which I know you and I enjoy those,
Yeah.
or whether you use capsules of fish oil. The time to take them is when you're having a meal, and hopefully a meal that has got some good healthy fats in it. So olive oil or avocado oil, or, avocado itself in the meal to incorporate some of that good monounsaturated fat. And when we're doing that on a daily basis, one of the primary things that we're doing is we are cooling off chronic inflammation, because when we don't have enough of the omega-3s, then the other family of fats that is prevalent in the American diet is omega-6. And omega-6s, with, minor exceptions, are pro-inflammatory. And inflammation is a hallmark of insulin resistance. So when we're calming down the chronic inflammation, we are reducing insulin resistance.
And so, Jolie, now you just mentioned using oils. So if we're eating also chicken, turkey, lamb, beef, does that count as oil fats? Good for us? That's good?
Well, the chicken, turkey, lamb, and beef usually have been fed a diet that makes them bigger sources of omega-6, pro-inflammatory, than omega-3, anti-inflammatory.
Oh, I
So
see. Oh,
we want grass-fed beef now will have more omega-3. Free-range chickens probably have some more omega-3, but certainly the pasture-raised chickens have got more omega-3, and so do their eggs. So the proteins that we choose do make a difference. I'm glad you brought that up. So one of the things that we recommend to keep the omega-3s more prevalent in the diet is that we eat more seafood, and seafood that is rich in omega-3s. So salmon, and if you like them, sardines are a great source of omega-3. It's not everyone's taste to have sardines, but people that love them, they're getting some very good levels of omega-3 eating sardines. Anchovies, mackerel, herring, tuna is a good source of omega-3. So a tuna that I really, really like, Starkist makes a tuna that is in olive oil. And it's a light tuna, which is lower in mercury, but it's in a base of olive oil. Well, there you have two very healthy fats. You've got the omega-3 from the tuna, and you've got the olive oil, which is just great. So the seafood is the better source of omega-3 in the diet. Seafood, omega-3 egg yolks, these are places where you're going to get omega-3, and that is going to be countering that pro-inflammatory influence of the omega-6s. The land-dwelling proteins have a tendency to be higher in omega-6.
All right. Our guest is Jolie Root. Jolie Root, the senior nutritionist for CARLSON. CARLSON known for their fish oils, and also introduced full-spectrum vitamin E to the marketplace in 1965, founded by Susan Carlson, registered pharmacist. Jolie, other fats that people might use, for example, if they eat almonds or
Yes.
almond butter or walnuts or walnut butter or even peanut butter. Is that good fat?
Yes, those are positive influences on health. And the nuts have protein and they have fiber and they have fat. So they have a tendency, particularly you mentioned the almonds and the walnuts, the macadamia nuts. Those are, there's less carbohydrate content in those nuts. Peanuts are a little higher in carbs, but those other nuts that you mentioned are good sources of mono unsaturated fats. It puts them in the camp with avocado and with olive oil. And those have a positive influence on inflammation, and they're very healthy fats, which can help to stabilize blood sugar levels. When we talk about macronutrients, so the foods that we eat, the macronutrients that slow the release of glucose are fat, fiber, and protein. So, in this light, even those land dwelling animal sources are good in terms of slowing the glucose elevation after a meal. If you've got some protein and some fiber and a good fat in your meal, you're probably going to have a slow and steady release of the glucose into the bloodstream after that meal. And that means you're not on the roller coaster.
All righty. And our guest is Jolie Root. Jolie Root, the senior nutritionist for CARLSON. CARLSON known for their fish oils. Now, Jolie, how much EPA DHA in the form of fish oil is a good idea to take a day, and when should we take it?
Well, take it with a meal. So if your biggest meal is evening, take it then. If your bigger meal is at lunchtime, take it then. What you don't want to do is take it on an empty stomach. Then you're not going to get the optimal bioavailability. But 2,000 milligrams EPA plus DHA, meaning look at your product label and see what a serving provides, and it'll show you separately the EPA and the DHA, and add those up. You're looking for 2,000 milligrams. Some people think they don't really understand how to read a fish oil label, so they think that the amount that they're looking at, either on the front of the bottle or on the supplement fact panel, is in one soft gel, for example. And it's generally not. You generally are seeing a serving size of 2 soft gels.
Right.
So in most cases, that's how the manufacturers label them. So you need to be clear that you're actually taking the full dose that you're looking for. But I say 2,000 milligrams because that's the amount that gets us to an optimal blood level, red blood cell level, the concentration of the omega-3 in the membranes of those red blood cells. And that's what we're looking for.
All right, 2,000 milligrams EPA DHA, and we have either liquid or capsules, and we're taking them with a fat meal. So one thing about supplements is people like to know, okay, listen, I'll try this supplement. You know, I'd like to know what it does for me. Okay, now I know what it does for me. And people want to know, what's the time frame? So if I start using EPA DHA from fish oil, what will I see and when?
There are different time frames based on the result that you're looking for. So you're going to notice probably a change in your mood and your sense of calm in a week.
Right.
If you're taking it on a daily basis, you're going to notice a change within a week, but more so in a month, even more so in 3 months. Generally speaking, if we're talking about measurable things like blood levels of triglyceride or those kinds of things, usually that's 12 to 16 weeks to really get to the full measure of what that dose is going to do for you. If you're talking about the stiffness, you wake up and your hands are stiff in the morning. So that can be, as a result of aging, or it can be sort of wear and tear on the joints, or you may have a chronic inflammatory situation going on that affects your joints. That, if you take a higher, I mentioned 2,000 milligrams, but if that was my issue, I would go to 4,000 milligrams combined EPA and DHA. And in that case, you'll probably notice a difference within a matter of days. That is something that that the joints really know when they're being nourished. They really know when they're being fed well. And if you're taking that higher dose, then I think that you're going to notice it. It has been my experience with my friends that have come to me with those kinds of issues that they notice a difference right away and say, I wish I would have listened to you, years ago.
Right. Right. Let me just mention, our guest is Jolie Root. Jolie Root, the senior nutritionist for CARLSON. CARLSON, known for their fish oils. I have a fellow who I'm studying Qigong with him, and he's a man in his early 60s. And we were talking about nutrition, and I suggested he try the CARLSON fish oil. And he said, well, he has a bad left hand from punching, the heavy bag. He used to be a little bit of a boxing guy when he was younger. And so I suggested the CARLSON fish oil. And the following week when I went back to class, he said, it took about 4 or 5 days and my hand is better. He was so happy about it. He said he's had it for years and he was just shocked. I told him the fish oil would kick in pretty fast, but he was so pleased. And here's a guy who really knew the subject of wellness, but he just loves the CARLSON fish oil. And again, long-term injury, not cleared up, but got way better in 4 or 5 days. So it's a great story.
Yeah, it is. And it's always fun when the response happens and then you've got a true believer on your hands. You've got, somebody that probably was maybe a little resistant to all this stuff that we do. And, really, are you sure that works? I read articles that say, supplements are a waste of time, supplements are a waste of money. But when you get a response like that, when you get a result like that, I've had parents where their kids just had behavior issues and we used to jokingly call it the spilkus. They can't sit still, the kid has the spilkus. So get those kids on the right amount of the right omega-3s. And also, by the way, protein at breakfast, multivitamins, some magnesium. And all of a sudden it's a different kid.
Right.
And they come back to me and they say, we will do this forever. And by the way, we also sometimes have the spilkus. And I go, I know everybody needs to be on this.
Right.
It's not just your son. So it's always fun when we get a good result like that.
Oh, it's delightful, really, when people realize, oh my goodness, the information on nutrition, it actually works. Nutrition actually works. And also I get more attention now at class because he's real happy with me with the recommendation of the fish oil. Jolie, how can listeners of Here's to Your Health purchase the CARLSON fish oils?
Well, they're pretty much everywhere if you shop in the natural food store channels, but also online and directly from CARLSON. So CARLSON has a website. You can order them directly from CARLSON. It's carlsonlabs.com. So, but, stores like Sprouts and Mother's Market and Whole Foods and those kinds of stores carry CARLSON also.
All righty. And again, now when I use the fish oil, I do prefer the liquid to the capsules. And in your opinion, it's better to keep those in the refrigerator, correct?
Once it's been opened, it is with the liquids a good idea to keep it in the refrigerator and use it within about 100 days.
Right.
They're stabilized and no oxygen in that bottle before that seal is broken. There's a nitrogen flush that there's just no air in there. And so they're not oxidizing at all. Once you open it and start pouring doses, then you're introducing some air into that bottle. So now it starts a clock as far as the aging is concerned. And we know from just testing in our own lab that you can measure looking for oxidation products, looking for that. And nothing happens as you're pouring out doses on a daily basis until after 100 days. So we say refrigerate once it's opened and use it in 100 days.
That's fantastic. And again, so you really kind of recommend to eat some fish, and you feel that, I guess the average chicken, not so much an organic pasture-raised chicken, but the average chicken is really pro-inflammatory in your opinion?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I guess I actually completely agree with you. And really, so when we're eating nuts, like almonds, is it better to eat almond butter or is it better to eat a few almonds?
I think it's better to eat the almonds themselves. I think almond butter is delicious, don't get me wrong, but the almonds are going to also give you the fiber. Almond butter is a processed food.
Right.
And what you're losing when you process it is the magnesium that was naturally occurring in
Oh,
that nut.
oh,
So when we eat the nuts whole, when, whether we're talking walnuts or almonds or macadamia or whatever, you're getting fiber, you're getting the protein from the nut, where in the nut butter, not quite as much protein. You're getting some fat, but you're also getting this whole array of minerals like selenium and magnesium, and those are really beneficial. So an ounce of nuts a day, when they added that to the Mediterranean diet, when they either increased the olive oil or they said an ounce of nuts along with follow that diet carefully, there was a much bigger result in measurable markers of, beneficial health.
wow. That's impressive. Our guest is Jolie Root. Jolie Root, the senior nutritionist for CARLSON. CARLSON, known for their fish oils. And I'm always happy to say CARLSON is a sponsor of Here's to Your Health. I'm very proud of that. And CARLSON was established in 1965 by Susan CARLSON, a registered pharmacist, and her father, also a registered pharmacist. And they introduced full-spectrum vitamin E to the marketplace, D-alpha tocopherol, plus the beta, delta, and gamma tocopherols. Now today, that seems very quaint, but really in 1965, that was absolutely cutting-edge technology. And Susan CARLSON and her dad, being registered pharmacists, assumed that the physicians in hospitals would want this important substance, full-spectrum vitamin E, but they, for whatever reason, did not. But the natural foods community did. So CARLSON Vitamins was founded in 1965 by Susan CARLSON, registered pharmacist. So if anyone tells you that all vitamins are the same, go to Costco, get your vitamins there, well, they are misinformed. Some brands like CARLSON have a remarkably great track record of scientific and technological progress, if that's the correct term, and they are great. That's a great company. So brand is very important, and I'm a very big fan of CARLSON, and I happen to use the CARLSON fish oil. Jolie Root's our guest. Jolie, once again, how can listeners of Here's to Your Health purchase the CARLSON fish oils and the other excellent CARLSON products?
You can go straight to CARLSON. It's carlsonlabs.com, and of course the whole catalog is there. There are other online, if you like to order online, there's iHerb, and there is VitaCost, and there's Amazon, of course. But also in your local natural food store, there probably are CARLSON products,
Right.
Given the 60-year history, and the company is very we're a legacy brand, so
That's right.
most stores do carry CARLSON products, but some of the things, it's a whole catalog of products with CARLSON, from A to zinc and the omega-3s and the vitamin D. And so if you have trouble finding a CARLSON product, you can certainly go directly to carlsonlabs.com and get that product.
Right, I completely agree. And I'm a very big fan of CARLSON. And all the stores do carry CARLSON because, to just quote Jolie, it is a legacy brand. They've got a great track record. They are a quality product. They really work. The substances really work. And fish oil, EPA, DHA, is just remarkably important. It's my favorite thing to recommend and to use. I'm a big fan of CARLSON fish oils. This is Josh Lane. You're listening to Here's to Your Health. We're going to take a short break, and we will be right back after these important messages.
Have you had your CARLSON Norwegian fish oil today? Decades ago, scientists discovered why Greenland Eskimos maintain healthy hearts despite their high-fat diets. The high level of omega-3 oils in their seafood diet protected their hearts. CARLSON Norwegian fish oil provides those important omega-3 oils. The same omega-3s from cold water fish support maximum brain power, immune strength, joint comfort, and our vision too. CARLSON, the very finest fish oil, is a valuable source of the important omega-3s, EPA and DHA. Each teaspoon provides a full 1,600 milligrams of omega-3s. And its purity is guaranteed. Try it on salads and popcorn. It tastes like lemon, not fishy. As for CARLSON, the very finest fish oil at finer health food stores today.
Hi friends, Monica Brandt here for Aloe Life #1 in aloe vera. As a professional international athlete for over 30 years between track, ninja, and fitness, I want to remind you of daily exercise plus Aloe Life, my daily wake up to look and feel your best. Aloe Life products boosted victory for me in 2016, winning first place World's European Union figure. See aloelife.com athletes. Plus workouts are easier too with Aloe Life products for digestion, energy, and stamina for success, or even dropping weight. It's so easy, friends, to choose a winning team. Aloe Gold or Detox Plus with certified organic daily green superfoods by Aloe Life. Be your own best athlete with Aloe Life products that work fast. aloelife.com or 1-800-414-ALOE. Choose Aloe Life today, friends. I'm glad I did. This is Monica Brandt, Fitness Olympia champion and fan of Aloe Life for over 10 years. Aloe Life since 1991.
Welcome to this edition of Here's to Your Health. I'm your host, Josh Lane. The illness Parkinson's disease, seems to affect many people and seems to be a topic of conversation more and more now in the popular press and I guess really around the dinner table. And luckily today we have Dr. Fiona Gupta. Dr. Gupta is an MD, a board-certified neurologist, and internationally recognized as a clinician and an educator in the field of neuroscience and movement disorders at New York Neurological Associates, and she's going to discuss this new campaign called More to Parkinson's campaign. Ryan Reynolds has been discussing it as it affected his father. And so, Dr. Gupta, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, and Parkinson's, unfortunately, is really kind of in the news. I mean, there's a lot of discussion about Parkinson's. And so what is it about the More to Parkinson's campaign that will benefit us to hear?
Absolutely. So you're exactly right. Parkinson's is very much in the news. The numbers are growing every day. I think we all know someone with Parkinson's and they know someone with Parkinson's. And one of the biggest things about the More to Parkinson's campaign is to really identify and go deeper than just the kind of motor symptoms that we kind of delineate with Parkinson's disease. Things that are more than just tremors or stiffness of movement or slowness of movement or a shuffling gait. It really is kind of unraveling this iceberg and seeing that there is more to Parkinson's, particularly when it comes to two very important symptoms, which are hallucinations and delusions, which encompass what we call Parkinson's disease psychosis. So, myself as a movement disorder specialist and a Parkinson's advocate, along with others, really found that it's so important to be able to really look beyond Parkinson's and more to Parkinson's and be able to identify these symptoms.
Wow. Our guest is Dr. Fiona Gupta. Dr. Gupta is an MD, a board-certified neurologist, and an internationally recognized clinician and educator in the field of neuroscience and movement disorders. Dr. Gupta, what do we think, what are the potential causes or cause of Parkinson's disease? Do we know that?
So the cause of Parkinson's is still not yet fully understood. We think it might be kind of a two-hit theory. Someone might be genetically predisposed to developing Parkinson's, and then something in the environment comes into play. But we still have a long ways to go, I think, to get a better understanding of the exact etiology or cause. One of the biggest things with the More to Parkinson's campaign, though, is to kind of delve a little bit more into the symptoms of Parkinson's that exist, and they go beyond just the patient who's slower or stiffer or the person who, is more shaky. It's really taking into account these symptoms of hallucinations and delusions. Now, the cause or etiology of those is a little bit better recognized to be things that are intrinsic to Parkinson's, dopamine, a very intrinsic system called serotonin. So there are some factors to those symptoms that are both innate to Parkinson's, and then even some things that are like kind of extrinsic to cause these symptoms. But the exact cause of the overall Parkinson's is still not fully understood.
Our guest is Dr. Fiona Gupta, an MD, discussing Parkinson's. So is it possible that some of the issues that cause Parkinson's are as a result of pesticide exposure?
That is one of the theories, yes. in general. There's different environmental factors, none that have been really completely elucidated. But yes, there have been certain things like rural living, pesticides, herbicides, things like that. I wish we had a better understanding. And again, I'm not sure this is why the numbers are growing, because there are still more environmental factors. But I think with anything related to Parkinson's, it's very important to try to tackle, as much as you can, and have our patients be very proactive early. Make sure that they are talking to us about their symptoms and how they're feeling. A big part of what we do also is caregiver education. So while we may not have the exact cause of Parkinson's, we do know a lot more about the symptoms. And, I think one of the biggest things in a campaign like More to Parkinson's is bringing up a lot of these symptoms earlier on so that we can do better for our patients.
And in the More to Parkinson's campaign, is there a discussion of lifestyle? Do they work with physical therapists? I mean, what is the approach let me use the word modern. What's the approach that they're using today that maybe they didn't use 10 years ago?
Oh, absolutely. So that's a great question. And thank you so much. I'm a very big proponent of what we call multidisciplinary care. And what that means essentially is a patient with Parkinson's in the middle, and everyone should be working around that patient to provide the best level of care. And that's their doctor, the neurologist. They should be communicating with the primary care doctor, other specialists, psychiatry, cardiology, GI. I can't say enough about our wonderful physical and occupational therapists, our speech and swallowing therapists, our social workers. So really the key is really evolving to say that we need a team around our patients. I always tell my patients, you have to be your own advocate, but having other advocates around you is so important. And so, going back to the More to Parkinson's campaign, to me, this is part of our team. And it really is encouraging patients or, loved ones of patients that if they see their patients experiencing things that are beyond just, again, the movement, the things like, seeing things that aren't there, hearing things that aren't there, feelings of paranoia or what we call delusions, bring these up because, again, we want to work with the team to then be able to provide the best level of safe care for all of our patients and also address things, like caregiver, questions and so on. So multidisciplinary care is so important for any patient with Parkinson's.
Our guest is Dr. Fiona Gupta. Dr. Gupta is an MD working with patients, individuals with Parkinson's. Dr. Gupta, is there a blood sugar component to Parkinson's? That is, are some of the patients or many of the patients, are they diabetic?
So there's no exact link between Parkinson's and diabetes. However, I always tell my patients, if you have Parkinson's, that's one of, your conditions. But if there are other things like blood pressure issues, diabetes, you want to take really good control of those things. So there's no direct link between diabetes and developing Parkinson's nor blood sugars. But, patients with Parkinson's, we want them to live well with Parkinson's. And so if they do have existing what we call comorbidities, it is important to best manage those conditions. And that's, again, where part of the team is working with other specialists. Right.
Our guest, Dr. Fiona Gupta, MD, and we're discussing problems with Parkinson's, which affect a lot of Americans. And Dr. Gupta is part of the More to Parkinson's campaign. And so Ryan Reynolds, the actor, I guess, has he been influential now discussing it as far as it affects his dad?
I think anyone that's part of the campaign has been very, very important. We know that, in the past, and this is, I've been in practice now going on about 18 years. And, when I first started in practice, we were not talking about More to Parkinson's. We were not talking about other symptoms, particularly symptoms that can be scary. Like if patients are seeing things that aren't there, right. If they're hearing things that aren't there, if they're misperceiving, a ball of socks on the floor as a rodent or a rock in the yard as a monster, if they're believing things, that they're, that these kind of persecutory delusions and things like that. So absolutely. Any advocate for More to Parkinson's, including Ryan Reynolds, who's been a wonderful advocate, and then just the whole campaign and the team, I think are really, really important because, again, we need our patients to feel that they're being heard. We want them to bring up symptoms. And we also even want clinicians to ask the right questions, so that we can make the most out of our visits with our patients. So yes, he is a wonderful advocate, as are so many others. And I think we still have to do more.
Yes, yes. Our guest is Dr. Fiona Gupta, MD, and Dr. Gupta is discussing Parkinson's and the More to Parkinson's campaign. So, Dr. Gupta, are there any lifestyle things that we can do to help ourselves besides medication, which we're going to also talk about? Is there anything lifestyle-wise? For example, if people have Parkinson's, should they be drinking soda? Should they be drinking alcohol? Should they be eating protein? I mean, is there anything that's kind of like, please do this. This is basic. We're not saying it cures Parkinson's, but certainly it's a good idea.
So that's a very, very important question, and thank you for bringing that up. So, as you mentioned before, we even think about medications for Parkinson's or other therapies. The lifestyle measures are the platform. These have to be followed. And these are things like exercise. Exercise is crucial for a patient with Parkinson's. It really is important for well-being, and it may actually even, slow the progression of Parkinson's. So exercise is absolutely crucial. I tell all my patients, you can exercise, even if it's like a chair-based program or if it's stretching or if it's some cardio, but I can't tell you how crucial exercise is. Sleep. We want our patients to be sleeping well. We want them to be comfortable and making sure they're getting a good quantity and quality of sleep. Hydration, very, very important in terms of like good water intake. Obviously, sodas and things like that, probably not so much, but in general, we want them to sleep. We want them exercising. We want a good balanced diet, including good hydration. And above all, we really want our patients to manage stress and socialize. Socializing is really, really important and building a lot of mental connections and, very, very important for well-being. So lifestyle measures are absolutely key, all the way from exercise to diet to socialization to stress reduction and sleeping well. And I encourage any patient with Parkinson's out there to really look deep inside themselves and see, are they getting that amount of lifestyle aspects that they want. Here in New York City, we have lots of programs. We have like rock steady boxing programs, and we have dance for PD, and I'm sure all over the country. I know that holds true with a lot of my colleagues. So if a patient has Parkinson's out there, one of the best things they can do is seek out some of these programs. It really makes a tremendous difference.
Right. Right. Good information. Our guest is Dr. Fiona Gupta, MD. Dr. Gupta is an MD and working with the More to Parkinson's approach right now. Dr. Gupta, so are there any new medications that seem promising?
So there are a lot of potential options for treatment of Parkinson's disease, and we have made a lot of progress. I will say that one of the best things we can do is make sure our patients and the clinicians are informed of, different treatment options. And again, the best way to do that is staying educated. So definitely there are a plethora of therapies. I like to think of it as a toolkit that I have to treat my patients. And in general, we want our patients to be as informed and talk to their doctor or their caregivers about the right level of treatment for each patient. Every patient is very different, right. And so every regimen is going to be very different.
But is there a particular medication that you think, gee, this seems promising? Is there anything kind of happening in the past couple of years that you really want to mention? Any new medication?
There are, again, a lot of potential treatment options out there and related to different symptoms. In terms of exact regimens, it's important to realize that, again, every patient is very different. And so every patient has kind of that right tools in their toolkit for them. But again, I think in general, in the future, my hope is that we'll have, what we call precision medicine. So the right types of therapies for each patient.
All righty. Our guest, Dr. Fiona Gupta, MD. Dr. Gupta is working in the More to Parkinson's campaign. So, Dr. Gupta, I didn't realize that delusions or psychosis was indeed a factor in Parkinson's. Is that been newly discovered?
So exactly, you're absolutely right. In terms of not realizing that, and you'd be surprised how many patients are not even aware, how many caregivers are not aware. Even when I teach the students and so on, I think we need to go beyond that curtain of is a patient. It's more than just being stiff or shaky or slow. Hallucinations and delusions are a very real symptom, and about 50% of patients with Parkinson's will develop what we call Parkinson's hallucinations and delusions. So absolutely. absolutely, it is a symptom, and it's not a rare symptom either. And this is why campaigns like More to Parkinson's are so crucial with raising awareness and making sure that we're adequately bringing up these symptoms. Because again, we don't want our patients living, with fear or, anxiety, especially if they are experiencing the symptoms. We don't want our caregivers to feel overwhelmed. So the key here, especially with More to Parkinson's, is yes, let's hone in on the hallucinations. Let's hone in on the delusions. About half of patients will have them. Let's bring it up and let's have that conversation together.
Right. If I can ask this, so when men and women have Parkinson's and they're no longer as agile as they once were, they certainly find that depressing, don't they? Wouldn't every person think, oh my God, I'm a shell of myself? That's depressing in itself, isn't it? I mean, isn't that a legitimate concern?
Absolutely. And I think when you are facing any, chronic disease state, it absolutely is. However, in Parkinson's disease, we want to be proactive. We want to really, really say, you know what, you have Parkinson's, but let's go out there. Let's live well with Parkinson's. So I'm a big believer in providing our patients all the resources that they can to really tackle and take it on and work on the lifestyle measures that we mentioned and really partner up with a good team around you. Because yes, you can definitely look at it as, you're up against a wall and you're facing a chronic disease state. However, on the flip side, this is something we really can empower our patients to live well with. And so that's really, I think, where things are trending. And I'm a big believer in really just empowerment and staying positive for our patients.
Well, that sounds very good. Our guest, Dr. Fiona Gupta, MD. Dr. Gupta, how can listeners of Here's to Your Health contact you to find out more about the More to Parkinson's campaign?
The More to Parkinson's campaign is out there. It's definitely on social media. You can go online and look it up. They're a huge advocate in terms of patient care. So again, More to Parkinson's is the campaign.
Well, thank you very much. An important topic. Our guest has been Dr. Fiona Gupta, MD, and Dr. Gupta is a board-certified neurologist and an internationally recognized clinician and educator in the field of neuroscience and movement disorders at the New York Neurology Associates, and also Dr. Gupta, is the director of the Division of Movement Disorders. This is Josh Lane. You're listening to Here's to Your Health. We'll take a short break, and we will be right back after these important messages.
Friends, say goodbye to rough, dry, and troubled skin. Even acne scars fade with AlloLife Skin Gel by AlloLife, not over-processed. So look for the dark yellow color, like the ancients wrote about, that gets to work fast in 5 minutes to 45 days. Skin Gel for more beautiful skin by AlloLife. Call 800-414-ALOE. That's 800-414-ALLO. An A+ Better Business Bureau company. Skin Gel available at Whole Foods, Clark's, Natural Grocers, other quality stores, plus allolife.com. 800-414-ALLO. That's 800-414-ALOE. AlloLife, aloe vera. For you, 800-414-ALLO. Do something good for yourself. Zoom into the new year. Leaders in health products since 1991. AlloLife, for a healthier life.
Medical scientists worldwide are encouraging people to eat more fish. Most American diets are low in cold water fish that are abundant in important omega-3 oils. DHA and EPA are the vital components of fish oil that provide healthy benefits. Not only are they crucial for brain and vision development, they're very important for cardiovascular health. CARLSON, America's leading Norwegian fish oil brand, specializes in both great-tasting soft gels that are easy to swallow and fish oil liquids that don't taste fishy. That's right, CARLSON provides the most extensive line of fish oils to meet all your needs. You can take CARLSON fish oils with confidence, for CARLSON fish oils are tested for purity, potency, and freshness. Ask for CARLSON Norwegian fish oils today. That's right, ask for CARLSON Norwegian fish oils today.
Welcome to this edition of Here's to Your Health. I'm your host, Josh Lane. Those of you who listen to the show regularly know how much I like to discuss nutrition and wellness and exercise and the environment as far as keeping us healthy. And these are all topics that many of us are now really recognize the importance of these topics. And it's also interesting how complex and remarkable the human body is. And so there's always new ideas coming to us. And sometimes the ideas are kind of maybe even a little shocking. And I read an article just the other day on Joseph Mercola's website. I'm a big fan of Joseph Mercola. He has some great articles on his site. He's been doing it for, 15 to 20 years. He has a great track record. I'm a big fan, again, of Joseph Mercola. And the article actually talks about when we get organ transplants, when organs are transplanted, memories, personalities, preferences, and skills, including, get this, including what happened at the donor's moment of death, have been repeatedly observed to transfer from the donor to the recipient in a manner that strongly suggests a real transference is occurring, raising questions, significant questions, as to where our consciousness or memories come from and who we actually are. This is actually kind of, very new discussion. Dr. Paul Purcell has some groundbreaking research documenting 73 heart transplant cases where the recipients experienced dramatic personality changes, changes in food preference, sexual orientation shifts, and even acquired new skills that perfectly matched their unknown donors. Approximately 10% of heart transplant recipients report experiencing emotions that they believe came from their donor. And the most extraordinary cases, one case in particular, includes an 8-year-old girl who received a murdered child's heart and provided police with accurate details that led to the killer's conviction, and recipients who suddenly developed artistic abilities that matched their donor's talents. When organ transplants first became possible, doctors celebrated it as a remarkable medical achievement, and it certainly is. What no one anticipated was that along with functional organs, something really far more mysterious might also transfer, and that is aspects of the donor's consciousness, personality, memories, and even skills. The evidence for this phenomena has been accumulating for decades. Mainstream medicine has not been reporting on it because it challenges, possibly because it challenges fundamental assumptions about where consciousness comes from. If memories and personality traits can be stored in organs rather than just the brain, this would completely revolutionize our understanding of human consciousness. So this is all new information, but I thought it was so interesting, I really wanted to mention it to the listeners of Here's to Your Health. There is a physician, Dr. Benjamin Bunzel, at the University Hospital in Vienna in Austria. He studied 47 heart transplant patients and found that while 79% claimed their personality hadn't changed, although possibly signs showed otherwise, 6% reported distinct personality changes they attributed directly to their new hearts. These individuals felt compelled to accommodate what they sensed as their donors' memories. When studied more extensively, approximately 10% of heart transplants recipients reported experiencing emotions they believed came from their donor. The most comprehensive study was done by neuropsychologist Dr. Paul Purcell, who underwent bone marrow transplantation for himself. And in The Heart's Code, his book, he interviewed 73 heart transplant recipients, 67 other organ recipients, and families of 18 deceased donors. And Dr. Paul Purcell said, "When I listen to the tapes of my interviews with heart and lung transplant recipients and the donor families, I am still taken aback by what they've shared with me." He identified consistent patterns: traumatic memory transfer. Recipients repeatedly recalled their donor's death, through dreams or physical sensations despite knowing nothing about the donor. Preference changes, dramatic shifts in food and music tastes matching the donor, vegetarians becoming carnivores, and vice versa. That almost sounds like a joke, but this is not a joke. Sexual orientation changes, including a lifelong lesbian becoming attracted to men and marrying one. And also a note, Dr. Purcell, one of his colleagues has a male patient who received a female heart, then became compelled to transition to becoming a woman, something never considered before the transplant. Now again, some of this might to you sound like a joke or just ridiculous, and I am mentioning it because it's just new discussion, and what it really shows to me is how complex the human body is, how remarkably well designed we are, and how the study of healthcare is constantly growing and evolving. Dr. Purcell also documented several cases so remarkable they seemed really just maybe impossible. And here's one. This is probably the most remarkable. An 8-year-old girl who received a murdered 10-year-old's heart began having nightmares about the killer. Using the child's descriptions, police found and convicted the murderer based on completely accurate details about timing, weapon, location, and the victim's final words. How about this? Here's one. A physician whose husband, David, died in a car crash, later met the transplant recipient. She whispered to him, "I love you, David. Everything is copacetic." The recipient's mother revealed, "My son uses that word, copacetic, all the time now. He never used it before he got his new heart. This has been the couple's special signal." Okay, here's one. This is about music. A 47-year-old foundry worker received a 17-year-old African-American student's heart and developed a fascination with classical music. Initially, he dismissed any connection, but he later learned the donor, the African-American student, had died clutching his violin case on a way to violin lessons. How about this one? Here's one. This is a food one. One recipient experienced multiple changes, feeling the donor's fatal car accident in her chest, becoming a vegetarian after being McDonald's, quote, biggest moneymaker, and changing from gay to straight. After my transplant, I have absolutely no desire to be with a woman. I think I got a gender transplant. In rare cases, heart transplant recipients are able to meet their donors due to a phenomenon known as domino transplants, where a patient with failing lungs receives both a heart and lungs simultaneously and then donates their heart to someone else. When Dr. Purcell interviewed a heart transplant recipient, it was a man named Fred, and his donor Jim, both of their wives noted the husband had taken on personality traits of their heart donor. For example, the depression and romanticism of Jim's now deceased donor, and that Fred mistook his wife for Jim's wife. That sounds like a joke, but this is not a joke. It just goes to show how remarkably complicated the human body is and how careful we must be with ourselves. And I would like to thank Dr. McCullough for this article on potential personality changes, or we pick up the personality of the donor, the person who gave us the heart or the lungs. And I thought this was an interesting topic, and I really would like to thank you for listening. Again, this is Josh Lane. This is Here's to Your Health, and we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back after these important messages.
The latest from the greatest, the best in new music by classic rockers, with your host, the insane Daryl Wayne.
This is Alice Cooper, and if Daryl Wayne is insane, what does that make me? Criminally insane. Stick around to find out.
Many of the artist interviews from the latest from the greatest have been captured on audiobook. There is a Volume 1 and Volume 2. Great information and conversations with people in the industry and people surrounded by the industry, and of course the rock stars themselves.
I'm the Reverend Al Green, and you're listening to the insane Daryl Wayne. And I said, Wayne Insane.
You can find it on Amazon or Blackstone Audio. Search for the latest from the greatest from Darrell Wayne, Darrell Wayne.
Hello, this is Weird Al Yankovic, and you're listening to the insane Darrell Wayne, aren't you?
Thank you for listening to the show. If you have suggestions for guests or topics you would like to hear, please email me at joshlane.wellness@gmail.com. That's joshlane.wellness@gmail.com. JOSHLANE wellness@gmail.com. On behalf of the cast and crew, I would like to wish you a healthy and safe good evening.